And I believe when we change our experience, then we begin to change the experience of the world. It takes one, and then one more, and then one more, and then one more. And before you know it, we don't even need to beat down the things that aren't serving us, because we've created our own culture. We've created our own love circle. We've created our own vibrational frequency that creates something else in the world that's more from a foundation of love.
You're listening to Turn Your Soul On Radio. I am your host and visionary doctor, Dr. Brandy Victory, and my mission is to assist high-achieving women in closing the gap between feeling unfulfilled to living a life on fire. It is time, ladies, to champion our own lives and turn ourselves on. This is Living Victoriously, ladies. This is how you turn your soul on.
Hey, soul sisters. Thank you for being here. I am excited for this little conversation we're about to have. We're going to chat a little bit about the power of sound, the power of our words, and the power of changing the vibration of what we say so that we can have a more profound experience in the world. So a fun little sidestep from where we've been going. Before we get started, I just want to thank you for sharing this episode with your friends. If you know any women who are struggling at all or just looking to improve their lives in any way whatsoever, hopefully you know a few of them, stop this recording right now and just go and push share. Share this episode with someone that you love and spread the word, spread the light, spread the love, spread the vibration of these words. So thank you, ladies. And I also want to thank our sponsor, Purium Superfoods. They are the sponsor of the 10-day transformation, which is what, at the time of this recording, I am on day 8. Whoop, whoop. I tell you what, sometimes I do this, like I said, I've done this 15, 16 times or something over the last 5 years. So I know this program, and sometimes this journey is, every time it's very different. Sometimes it's harder than others, and this has been a challenging one. I did one back in February, and it really was no big deal. And then today, here I am, faced up against some of my very old programs and patterns and belief systems that I have been working on for many, many years. And you know how this healing consciousness work goes. You face it, you peel back the layer of it as you heal it, and then you move up to your next level of consciousness, and then you might face it again on a new level so that you can move up again your level of consciousness. So I feel like I've actually moved up a level in my consciousness. I've definitely peeled back the layers on the I'm not good enough story again. So glad to be on the other side of that. If you are not up on the journey that I've been on and you would like to be, head on over to my YouTube station and subscribe, and you'll get the videos. I'm videoing this process as I go through this 10-day, and it's just been real fun to share in this way. Again, the sponsor that's sponsoring this is Purium Superfoods, and that program is the one I've been doing for the last 5 years, and I've been teaching cleansing for 13 years, 14 years, for a very long time. And out of all the programs I've ever done, this one has just hit home. It's the fastest movement on a consciousness level, the fastest movement on a physiological level. If I have a patient come in, and they've got a horrific looking nutrition analysis graph, which means all their bars are raised up and every organ system is creating symptoms in their life, I will immediately put them on a 10-day, because the 10-day will shush all that stuff down, and then I'll be able to see exactly what the priority is, and then we can move forward on a very specific protocol for that person. So it's an awesome, awesome thing. And I also want you to know that I am hosting a group 10-day transformation starting June 2nd, and the registration ends on May 22nd. So if you're interested at all, go over to whoa, that was a blast from the past. You're going to go over to drbrandyvictory.com/10 10-day, that's 10day, drbrandyvictory.com/10-day. And you can check out all the details. It's going to be a fun time. I mean, we meet virtually on Zoom. I take you through guided meditations. I give you sensuality exercises. I give you tips for each day as you go through it to help support you through the challenges that may arise, because challenges can arise when we do a cleanse. But when you have the support of a group of women like this, and the support of me, of helping you modify your program as you go, then you can't lose. Like, you will be a winner. You will feel fantastic when you're done. You will have something shift in your life. And so I'm excited to be a part of that facilitation for you. And I hope that you're ready for that. So if you are, again, go on over to drbrandyvictory.com/10-day and get yourself registered. All right, ladies, on with the show. Let's talk a little bit about the power of sound. And just let the sound of my voice and the sound of my breath land. And just notice how it feels to let it move into your core. Notice if you're maybe taking a more relaxed breath. Maybe your shoulders are dropping down. And maybe you feel a little more spaciousness in your body. Yeah. So how is that feeling in your body? And I just want you to really just check in. How is that feeling in my body? And as I continue talking, just notice as my voice gets quicker, how your body may start to get a little bit, like the energetics of your body may start to ramp up, and you might start to get a little bit excited. And maybe those shoulders are even up in your ears now. And maybe you're not even deep breathing like you are. It's just crazy how sound can change everything. And how the sound of our breath can just elicit a physiological, relaxing response in the body. And just letting that land. And I share this with you just to give you a little bit of an experience so that as we have this conversation, you'll begin to see it. You maybe remember some feelings in your body when I start to give you examples of certain things. Because I think what we're going to talk about today is going to kind of be like, oh, maybe a little bit surprising on some levels not, because you innately already know this stuff. But on some levels, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what you're talking about. I haven't ever thought of that before. Like, that's likely. I would be really surprised if it wasn't. So where this all started for me was that I had a patient come in the other day, and she's just cute little blonde girl, just regular girl, no tattoos or anything. And then I actually saw a tattoo on the her inner arm, and it was just the size of a safety pin. And that's what it was. It was a safety pin. And I was like, oh, kind of surprised that she had a tattoo, especially a safety pin. What is that, right? And so I asked her, I was like, what is that tattoo of? And she's like, oh, it's a safety pin. And I was like, oh, okay. And what does that mean to you? What is the meaning of a safety pin? And she looked at me and she's like, well, are you very politically active? And I said, no, I'm not. And she's like, okay, well, it's an anti-Trump tattoo. And I was like, oh, okay, wow. I kind of didn't expect it from this cute little blonde girl, right? Who didn't have any makeup on or any tattoos or anything. She doesn't look very intrusive or at all. She's your local bank teller or something, And so I tried to figure it out on my own, but when I could come into nothing, I was like, okay, so what exactly does that mean? And she says, well, it just means that people who are discriminated against are safe with me. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And that's a totally different story than you previously told me. Because when you say it's an anti-Trump tattoo versus people who are discriminated against are safe with me, like those are two totally different vibrational frequencies going out in the world. And, it wasn't the appropriate time to go deeper into this conversation, but what that tells me is that there's conflict within her. Obviously, there's conflict within her if she has anti-anything tattooed on her body. Like, that's clearly conflict. And I know there's a lot of people who are tied up in the conflict of Donald Trump and what's happening in our world. And I get it. I get that it's easy to be in that space. And it's kind of harsh when there's things happening in the world and we don't like it. And I personally believe that we can't go change Donald Trump, and everybody can tattoo their bodies up and he's not going to change anything. Like, it's not going to make a difference in the world necessarily, other than if someone is discriminated against and they understand this whole safety pin thing that's going on. Apparently it's a little cultural thing that's going on. And then it helps those people, of course, but to have it be the anti-Trump tattoo, like, what difference is that really going to make in the world? Right. And it's not, but what you can do to make a difference is you can change your vibration. So, if I could have a longer conversation with her, I should say, I would invite her into that space of love rather than the anti-Trump negative, not love space, and to just speak from that place, right? So our words are so important. Like, every single thing that you say matters. Every single thing that you say matters. All right. So words are so powerful. And we've all heard this thing, honor your word. And if you say a word, that represents you. So, when we're looking at how we're speaking or even how we're sounding, like, one of the things that I commonly find myself doing is going, okay. Like, I get stressed out, and that's my breathing pattern. And I constantly say, okay, I've got this. Okay, what's next? Okay, let's keep it going, and that's not a real pretty thing to be putting out in the world, right? Even in just to my own self, right? So it's like, what am I saying to myself? Because I do that when I'm only by myself, not necessarily when other people are around. Hopefully not when other people are around, actually, right? So, but what am I saying to myself every time I do that? Every time I do that, I'm telling myself that, oh my gosh, I've got too much on my plate. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can handle it. Okay, another thing done. Let's get to the next thing because it's never ending. And oh my gosh, stress, right? Just the story, whatever the storyline is, stress. And it's important, like, as I was having this download, I was thinking about all of these things, obviously, and I thought, wow, I think it's something I really want to pay more attention to in my life. Like, our growth is really about us paying attention to how we're showing up in the world and how that showing upness is affecting the world. Like, okay, we show up in this way. What comes of that? We show up in that way. What comes of that? Right? Every single thing we do has an effect. So if we can be conscious of the things we're doing in the world and the effects that they're having in the world, then we have the power to change our experience. Now, we may not have the power to change Donald Trump, but we definitely have the power to change our experience. And I believe when we change our experience, then we begin to change the experience of the world. It takes one, and then one more, and then one more, and then one more. And before you know it, we don't even need to, like, beat down the things that aren't serving us because we've created our own culture. We've created our own love circle. We've created our own vibrational frequency that creates something else in the world that's more from a foundation of love and appreciation and happiness and joy and gratitude. So yeah, being conscious and conscientious about our words and leading into the piece around being conscientious about our words to ourselves. So I feel like I'm pretty good with my words when I'm speaking to other people. Like I do a pretty good job of not saying demeaning things and working towards upliftment with my words when I'm speaking to other people. It's like it's a game to me and I love it. And I don't necessarily always do that to myself. So a lot of times my words can be very demeaning or hateful or, just negative and putting myself down for whatever, or telling myself the same old story when I look in the mirror or whatever, I mean, these are a lot of things I've been working on for a long time. And I do know these things about myself, but we all have them. And again, it's layers, right? So I used to have such self-hatred towards my body. It was so bad. And I've done a lot of work around that. And I made a practice of finding something that I love on my body and recognizing that. Like every single time I look in the mirror, I find something, no matter what my first inkling is, or no matter what negativity comes up, I go, okay, but what do you love? So then I look, and my shoulders are usually what I love first. And then now that I've been working out more, I'm starting to see like muscles in my legs, and I'm starting to see little abs are going to come up. I can feel that. So, and then I'm on this cleanse. And so it's changing things really rapidly for me. And it feels really good. And my mind can still go to those negative places. But so what I'm sharing this with you for is because I want you to just begin to notice whenever you're having negativity arise in your mind. And whenever you have negativity arise in your mind, what is it that you can do to begin to shift into a higher state of vibration, a higher state of consciousness, a higher state of love or self-love? Yes, I love this stuff, right? The other thing that arises in this conversation is my memory of seeing like different t-shirts and stuff, right? So a lot of people wear t-shirts with little sayings on them and stuff. And if you're one of those people, like I like wearing those kinds of shirts. I don't really have any yet, but I'm looking for the right one. I haven't quite found the right one yet. But like I see some of the girls in yoga and they're like, have a great day, or whatever the positive sayings are on there. And I'm like, oh, I want one of those shirts, right? But there's also people that I see that, not necessarily in yoga, of course, but they're wearing t-shirts that say like things like, people suck. Or there was one I saw and it was, laziness is a strong word. I'd prefer to call it selective participation. And I'm like, wow. What does that say about this person? So lazy is an interesting concept, and I don't believe anyone's lazy. I believe that we have belief systems within our consciousness or our subconscious that cause us to do things or not do things, and then we label it as lazy. And then once we label it as lazy, it perpetuates that storyline. But regardless, if someone's wearing a shirt that says, basically, I'm lazy, then what is that creating for that person? It's creating more of the same story. It's giving them a container to allow themselves to be lazy in. So if you happen to be one of these people and you're wearing a shirt that says you're lazy, get it off your body. Do not wear it. Use it, throw it, burn it, actually. Burn it up, like put it in a fire. And when you do some ceremony around it and let go of that storyline that you have been holding on to about yourself, because you do not have to do that. And if you're refusing to do that, I want you to take a look at that. So if you're trying to figure out how not to burn it, or how not to get rid of it, or how to keep wearing it, then there's a reason for that. And it may be just like, it doesn't really matter, or whatever storyline. But I want you to take a deeper look at that and ask yourself, if what I am saying is true, that our words matter, and when I wear things, it's an expression of my truth, and why would I want to wear something that says I'm lazy? Why would you, right? There's other ones that I've seen, like I have mixed drinks about feelings. And so a lot of these are like kind of like just kind of funny if you're not really thinking about it. It's kind of funny, right? I have mixed drinks about feelings, haha. But what does that say about you? If you're wearing a shirt that says I have mixed drinks about feelings, likely you're drinking to suppress your feelings. And if you're drinking to suppress your feelings, then we need to have a stronger conversation, like really, okay? And most people who drink, they do so because it's one of the ways they let down, right? It's like, oh, I just need a drink to relax after work, or oh, I'm stressed out, I'm going to go out and have margaritas with my girlfriend. Like when we got burglarized, that was a horrible experience for me. Like I felt so incredibly violated, and my empathy my empathy had me like really feeling and seeing the imprint of the people who were in my home taking our stuff. And it was very, very hard for me. And I actually began drinking a lot. And it wasn't like a conscious decision. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to start drinking. But it was just a pattern I started to see arise because I very rarely drink. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to go to class tonight. And before I knew it, I called my girlfriend on my way to class and I was like, hey, you want to go have a drink? And I don't really do that. Like, it's not my thing. And so I went and I drank 2 margaritas with her and I was like, wow, this is great. and then it began to happen more and more frequently. And then one day I remember coming home, on my way home, I stopped and I got a bottle of wine and I brought it home to drink it with my boyfriend. And that night I knew, I was like, this is out of hand. Like I am doing this to manage my emotions, and I am doing this to suppress the experience of being burglarized and the violation and the pain that I had in my body and my psyche from that experience. And that's not a healthy way to manage your emotions. Like if you have something going on under the surface that you feel like you have to manage, you might need some help, okay? Like you don't need to struggle. That's a struggle. And I have done a lot of work since then on this burglary and clearing our space and doing crystal grids around our home and having some clearings done by shamans. And I've done so much. And now I can be in my home and I have the memory of the imprint, but I don't see it's not an experience in my day to day. I can remember what I used to see, but I don't see it when I'm in my space now, which is awesome. But I would never have gotten there if I had just continued to drink to suppress those feelings. I call in a lot of help. If you haven't noticed, I call in an extraordinary amount of help when I'm in the shitstorm, right? This 10-day I've been in the shitstorm. It's been crazy, man. So if you want to hear about that, go over to the YouTube channel and check it out. It's been an interesting ride. But regardless, I'm so glad to be doing it because I'm really seeing, okay, I have the power to move through this. I have the power to change this. I have the power to experience something different in my life. I have the power to know that I am good enough. I have the power to believe that I have the ability to create exactly what I want and that I'm of service to all of my patients. And the people who are not ready for my work don't show up, but the people who are, hell yeah, say yes, get on in, call me up, let's do this, because you, as well as every single other person on this planet, has the ability to live a powerfully beautiful, precious life that is a big fat yes on your inner vibration. A big fat yes, not I'm lazy or I have mixed drinks about feelings, or there's some like, there was one, cat hair is lovely. No. Cat hair is, what was it? Is glitter for lonely people? Yeah, cat hair is glitter for lonely people. Is lonely people's glitter, or something like that. Cat hair is lonely people's glitter. And I'm like, oh, poor thing. She's lonely. Like, don't wear that shirt or you're going to be lonely. Like, you have to stop doing that kind of stuff to yourself, okay? There was another one. It was, I keep going on with these because there's so many, right? Let's see. It's like, sorry, I can't. I have a date with Netflix, Nutella, and naps. So this kind of goes back to the whole lazy piece. And I think when you first read these things, it's kind of funny, right? Oh, I can't. You have a date with Netflix, Nutella, and naps. Well, okay, maybe you do. And maybe you don't want that to be your everyday life. Maybe you want that just to be on occasion. And probably you don't ever want to eat Nutella anyway. No offense to you Nutella eaters, but if you looked at the ingredients on that stuff, it's bad. Make your own, okay? And if you want to know how to do that, reach out. I'm happy to share my recipe. All right, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about what the common sayings you say or grew up with that kind of happen in your world. We all have these little sayings that we do. I recently heard a story about someone and he was telling me his dad always said, born to lose every time something went wrong. And so he said this ever since he was a little boy, born to lose. And so guess what? He felt like a loser and he wasn't doing good financially and all this stuff, right? So we had to clear that stuff out of his consciousness and help him up-level his vibration and shift into a more abundant place. But we had to start in the consciousness. There's a little thing that I can remember that I know that I have said in the past, in the most recent past, actually. It hasn't been that long. I've caught myself doing this, saying, it figures when something would go wrong, right? And I'm like, holy crap, what am I actually saying that for? Does it really figure that something went wrong? Like, come on, like, really? And it's just a habit, right? Because these are things we pick up as children and they're common sayings. So I'm just inviting you right now to really look at the words that you're saying. Look at the noises that you're making. Look at the things that you're wearing and expressing and just consider how they feel. And if you can't figure it out, one of the things that you can do is you can think about the feeling, like even just say it out loud. Let's say you have a t-shirt that says, I have mixed drinks about feelings. And say it or think it out loud. Or say it out loud or think it, I should say. And say, I have mixed drinks about feelings. And just feel the vibration of that. I have mixed drinks about feelings. Feel the vibration of that. And then let's think of something like opposite, like I express all my feelings with joy. I express all my feelings with joy. And just feel the vibration of that. That's a different vibration for sure. Like you can feel it in your body, how it makes you feel. And so that's how you kind of can compare. You go, okay, well, what's the opposite of this? And what would I rather be saying or thinking or doing or wearing, right? So, I think I'm just going to close it down right there. I hope this was helpful. I can't wait to hear your feedback. I'd really love to hear any of your feedback. You're welcome to join me on my Facebook group, Turn Your Soul On Radio, and give me your feedback about these episodes because it's really helpful for me to know if I'm actually making a difference in the world out there. And you could also go to my Instagram, Dr. Brandy, DrBrandy. I'm starting to play around there more, and I'm starting to play on YouTube more. So I'm so excited about these evolutions that are happening, and I'm excited for you to be a part of it. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, please know I'm always here for you. Reach out anytime. And if you want to join me on this 10-day, I am open. And for now, do whatever it takes to turn your soul on. Thank you for tuning in to Turn Your Soul On Radio. If you're finding yourself living a more inspired life because of this show, help spread the light. Share this episode with every woman you know looking to live their lives a little more on fire. I'd also be grateful if you headed over to iTunes and left a heartfelt review, which really helps the growth of the show. I'd also like to invite you to deepen your connection with our community by joining our private Facebook group, Turn Your Soul On. And if you have any other questions, feel free to shoot us an email at admin@drbrandyvictory.com. Thanks so much for being here today, and I'll talk to you next time. May your soul be turned on.
This podcast is for information purposes only. Dr. Brandy Victory is not a medical doctor, and the views and statements expressed on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Dr. Brandy Victory and the producers, disclaim responsibility from any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.